Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be sharing with you all a detailed process on how to sew this shirt gown you see right here. So at the lower part of this shirt, it has this joint, which is the part that has the blue prints on the fabric, and it's also pleated. Then it has a waist belt, it has a collar and a button in front. So if you've always found it so difficult to sew or to draft your shirt gown, trust me, this is the perfect tutorial for you, because if you follow every detail and steps I'll be showing right here in today's tutorial, you're going to end up achieving this which you have right here on your screen. So without much ado, I'm just going to get started with what we have for today. So for this shirt gown, I used 2.5 yards of fabric, and all this information and details I made mention in the first part, which was the drafting or the cutting part of this tutorial. So this particular one is the sewing part, where I'll assemble all of these drafted pieces together. So the first part is actually a detailed one, so I'll advise you go and check it out and come back to watch the second part of this tutorial so that you have a better understanding of everything I'll be doing right here. Okay, so it's totally 100% detail and you're never going to regret watching. So by the time I fixed my button allowance and joined my two shirts at the shoulder, I went ahead to arrange it at the sides because I want to join now. So I went ahead now to join this using 1 inch, which is my stitching allowance, which I already made mention in the first part of our tutorial. So the next is to draft out our collar. So I did this by bringing my shirt together on the button allowance area. Then I went ahead to pin. So I'll also get the shoulder, the two shoulders, and make sure that they align, and I'm going to pin this as well. So by the time I do this, I'll just go ahead and measure what I have around my neck. That is my neck circumference, right, or my neckline. So from that button allowance, I started measuring up to the middle part of this my neckline. So once I got what I have, which is 9.25, I got this my peplum stay. So you can use your collar gum, peplum stay, or any hard interfacing at all for your collar. So I measured out 9.25 inches on fold on this my peplum stay. So I'll go ahead now and use my office pin to pin it down. So I'll be drafting the collar and the collar stand at the same time. Okay, so from the base of this my peplum stay, I marked 1 inch, which is going to be the height of my collar stand. So right now I'm drafting the collar stand first, and it is 1 inch high, sorry. So now from that other edge, I came down by 1/2 inch from the top part of this my collar stand, and I'm trying to create a curve. So today this curve wasn't really working with me properly, I don't know, but just try and give this a nice curve. You can actually leave it in a block form if you want, or in a rectangular shape. So that is it for the collar stand. Then for the collar, which is the one that will be on top of this our collar stand, I went ahead to rule a straight line. So it's going to be 2.5 inches high. That will be the height of my collar. Okay, that is the part that you fold. Okay, so I marked 2.5 inches following that line. Then I'll connect this point I've made here into a straight line. So you can see what I've done so far. So your collar is always shorter in length, not in height, in length than that of your collar stand. So I'm going to come to that line which I marked for my collar, and I'm just going to mark 7.5 inches. Thereby the length of this our collar is going to 7.5 inches, and our collar stand is 9.25 inches, because our collar stand will be fixed directly to our neckline. So at that top part, I came out by just 1/2 inch. I slanted it this way into my collar, as you can see right here. So from this other end, which is the closed part, I came down by 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to connect it slightly to this other part of my collar. So just know that this part I'm slanting from now is entirely closed, and the other part is open. So having drafted this collar, this is how simple it is. I'll cut out my collar stand first, and when I'm done cutting it out, I'll go ahead and cut out my collar.
That I would pray for you, I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room, and damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, Our first time, our first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase.
So now I've gone ahead to do that, and you can see what I have right now. I drafted out my collar and my collar stand. So spreading this out, you see that the length of our collar is shorter than that of the collar stand, which is 100% normal. So I'm going to get my fabric now so that I can iron this my peplum stay to it. So this our peplum stay actually has a shiny part, so that is the part that gums to your fabric. So from the folded part of this my piece of fabric, I folded this my fabric and now placed the shiny part of my collar on it this way, and I'm pinning it down. Okay, so I also repeat the same thing for my collar stand, right? So go ahead and pin. When you pin, now take it to your iron and iron this, like give it a very nice press. Okay, so when I did that, I went ahead now to cut this out, and I left stitching allowance for that collar stand. See, at the upper part and the lower part there are stitching allowance. Then for my collar, I only left stitching allowance at the lower part. I went ahead to stitch the sides all around to the top part to the other side. So I cut off the excesses right there, and this is what I have. So I'll flip it now to the right side of my fabric. Remember, why ironing? You're ironing on the wrong side of your fabric. Okay, so I'll flip this now to the right side of my fabric, and you can see what I have. So I'll still go ahead again to give this a very nice press to be flatter than this. So now I've gone ahead to do this, and you can see that it's very flat at this point. So the next thing now is to attach our collar stand to our collar. So I need to get the middle of this our collar first by folding this my collar into 2 equal halves, and I notch the center. So for this our collar stand, I'm just going to bring it together as well, making sure that this my peplum stay at both ends align or meet each other, so that I can determine the middle of this my collar stand, because it's very necessary. Okay, so when I did this, I notched the both part, that's the upper part and the 2 sides in fact of this my collar stand. So now I'm just going to get this part of my collar stand that has this my peplum stay, and I will ensure I place it on the part of my collar that also has my peplum stay ironed to it. So these 2 notches are supposed to align, and while placing, the straight part on your collar stand should face your collar. Okay, so make sure you place them right sides facing each other. Okay, you know this our collar stand, by the time you cut out and leave your stitching allowance at both sides, you're going to have 2 pieces. One has your peplum stay ironed to it, and the other one is just a plain piece of your fabric that is normal. Okay, so I went ahead now to pin this properly. Please, at this point, your pin should really do a lot for you. So I got the other collar stand, which I don't have anything ironed to it. I went ahead to also make sure that I pin them at the center, that's the parts where I notched. So having done this, now I'm going to stitch all around from the sides to the top parts to the other side. So you can see that I've gone ahead to do that, and then I'm cutting off these excesses. Okay, so just the sides and this other lower parts. So by the time I'm done with this, now you can see I stitch. I'll now bring this out. I'll now turn this out this way, so you can see what we have right now. So this is our collar. In case you're not familiar with collar, this is how easy it is. So I went ahead to iron this again to be flatter. So the next thing now is to fix it now to our shirt, or on the neckline of our shirt. So I unpin the neckline area, so you can see what I have on the neckline. So I'm getting my collar now, and I'm just going to make sure that the part I have my peplum stay ironed sits exactly on my neckline. That's the part I'm going to pin to my neckline, right sides. Okay, so I'm pinning this on the right side of my neckline. All right, so the part where I have my peplum stay ironed is where I'm placing on the right side of my neckline, right sides facing each other. So make sure you pin this from one button allowance to the other button allowance. When you are done pinning, you're just going to follow that shape, and you're going to stitch from one end. So you're going to stitch very close, very close to your peplum stay. So it's going to be your guide. just with half of an inch, you now stitch. So guys, I'm gonna head to stitch that so you can see I just stitch using half of an inch. So that's the essence of leaving half of an inch stitching allowance on your collar. So when you are now done with that, you're not going to go ahead to use the remaining piece of fabric on your collar stand to cover up the first stitch which you have on your collar. Okay, so see what I'm doing, right? I'm just pinning this down. So the way I'm using this to cover up my neckline and pinning is the same way you actually have to stitch. So what I normally do is that by the time I fold this inside, I usually use my hemming gum to keep this at a place before I go ahead to now stitch, but it's totally optional. Okay, you can still stitch directly. So when I was done, this is what I have. So you can make decorative stitches at the top of your collar. It's totally optional, and it's okay if you don't, because I didn't really do it to my own collar. So now I'm arranging my shirt gown so you can see what I have. I went ahead to measure out the length of my shirt gown to ensure that if I'm on the right track. So I did this, I had 35 inches, meaning that I have 1 inch extra for my joining allowance, which is totally okay. All right, so remember that the length of my shirt is 34 inches before I join the lower part actually. All right, the part that will be pleated. So altogether the full length of my shirt is 43 inches. That's from my shoulder to the actual length where my shirt will stop, including this piece I'm adding. So meaning that the length of this piece now is going to be 9 inches. So for the wideness, I actually have 2 yards. For the wideness is 2 yards. Then for the length is 9 inches, then plus 34 inches, which is the length of the upper part of my shirt. Everything is 43 inches. Okay, so I went ahead now to mark 11 inches. So this is just for my stitching, hemming, and also joining allowance. Okay, so I rather add excess allowance to this to end up cutting off some few inches if it doesn't align with the length than having it shorter than the actual length, right? So after cutting this out now, I just got the upper part. This is my shirt gown, so I'm going to attach or fix this piece I cut out now to my shirt. So now I got one side of my shirt, and I'm going to get this piece right here. So I'll get one of the edge, and I'm going to ensure that I fold this in, right? So that part wasn't really nice, so I had to cut it off a bit. So now I'm going to fold in at least 3/4 of an inch and stitch to get rid of those rough edges. Okay, so I'm just going to pin this. All right, so make sure that you stitch it first, just the same way I've pinned right here. Just stitch yours. You now place it right sides at the base of your gown, right, or your shirt. So also get the other part of your shirt, and also get the ends of this piece which will be pleating on this our shirt gown now. So also go ahead and fold in the rough part. Okay, so I just wanted to cut this off because the threads on the fabrics are coming out, so I have to fold twice and make sure that you stitch this down before you go ahead to now stitch it together with your shirt gown, as I'm doing right here. Okay, so now I've done this. Now I'm going to start pleating this and pinning as well. So you can see that the right side of this piece is facing the right side of my gown. Okay, so I'm going to pleat. So while you are pleating and all your pleatings are going on one side, it's called a knife pleat. Maybe I'll have to just make a tutorial on the different types of pleats we have. Okay, so it varies. So all my pleats are going one side, and the spaces I have in between is about 4 inches. So my pleats are bold. You can make your pleats tiny or smaller. Okay, so my pleats are bold. I just wanted to go with bolder pleats to kind of align or rhyme with the one we have on the thumbnail. So when you pleat and you flip it to the right side, this is what it's going to look like. So by the time you pleat, ensure that you pleat to the other end before you go ahead and stitch. So I used 1 inch to stitch. All right, so after that, now the next thing is to cut out for our belt. So this is a remnant of my fabric which I went ahead now to fold into 4. So I'm going to cut out about 2 inches wideness of my belt, so that when I stitch using quarter of an inch at both sides, I'll be left with 1.5 inches as the wideness of my belt, right? So I divided this into two because I'm meant to have two pieces. So I didn't measure out the length of this belt, so just cut out your desired length, but let it not be extremely unnecessarily long, okay? So now this is what I have after joining this piece to the upper part of my shirt. So I'm here to iron this my pleats. By the time you iron it, you see this beauty just on its own. So I also went ahead to hem the ends of this my piece. So I'll go ahead now and also fix my sleeve to this. So this is my belt. I stitched both sides and I brought it out from the other end, this end right here. So I folded in a little fabric and now stitched it down. So now I'm going to fix or attach it to this my belt head. So I'm going to do this by bringing this way, you see, and I brought it out through the other side. So if you are just with this, you just know how to fix it, but you just force it from the other side and bring it out underneath, and then you go ahead and use your B6000 clothes gum to gum this, because if you are trying to do it on your sewing machine, you're going to find it a bit difficult. Okay, though I stitched mine, but in order not to stress yourself, just use a B6000 clothes gum. Okay, so when I did all of that, I went ahead now to fix my sleeve. This is a basic short sleeve pattern, and I also went ahead to iron my pleats, so you can see how relaxed and nice it's looking. And I also ironed my shirt. So this is it. I've ironed out my belt, so you can see what I have, and I've also stitched my belt. So when you now pass your belt through, this is what, just the normal way you pass your normal belt, that's the same way you do this. So guys, this is what I have. So for your buttons, you fix the first button on your collar stand. Then you can now mark 3 or 4 inches away from each chalk marks you made for your button hole, right? So just take it to whosoever that does buttonhole around you. So at the end of the day, we are done, and this is it. And if you found this tutorial helpful, I urge you to please kindly subscribe and not also forget to like this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in my next one. Do have a wonderful time ahead of you. Bye.